Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a very famous Gemara about the subject of the Berachot from the Torah, Berkat Hamazon and Berkat Torah. These are the Berachot that the Torah mandates us to say. We're going to discuss it, Be'ezrat Hashem. I'll give you a little bit of a background of how it's connected. Shalom Aleichem, Mr. Zerubabeli, how are you?
Shalom, Rabbi.
It's very bright behind you. Where are you?
I'm in, what is it?
You don't have to say.
In the island. Everybody's something. My shadis are here too. Oh, you're
Bahamas.
Bahamas.
Oh, you're in Bahamas. Oh,
I just
okay.
got to
You
the
just have the
room
lights
to.
on. Okay, fine.
I
I
just
thought you were
got
on
to
the other
room.
side of the world. I thought, okay.
No, it's very close.
Okay. All right, very good. So we're going to begin Gemara Masechah Berachot of Chaf Aleph 21A. Here where we've been discussing so far was our Mishnah that we started last week. It's a new Mishnah. The Mishnah, just to give a little bit of background, because there's a very key important concepts that we're going to be discussing tonight. The Mishnah talks about a Baal Keri, which is a man who had a seminal emission. Presumably, he had relations with his wife. And at that point, at the time of our Gemara, Ezra Sofer made a takana. Ezra Sofer was way before our Gemara, but he made a takana that a person who is a Baal Keri, who had a seminal emission, should not study Torah until he goes to the mikveh. Okay, and we're going to see the background behind that takana, which no longer applies halachically. But what the Mishnah says is that a Baal Keri, it's time for him to say Shema Yisrael. Is he allowed to say Shema Yisrael? The answer is no, because it's Torah study. And there was a decree, there was an enactment, as Rav Sofer said, that a Baal Keri is not allowed to study Torah until he goes to the mikveh. So, can he say Shema? The answer is no, but he has a mitzvah to say Shema. So what's he supposed to do? He's in this bind. He can't say Shema because there's an enactment against of studying Torah when someone is a Baal Keri. But he cannot because there's a mitzvah of the Torah to say Shema. So what our Mishnah tells us is meharher belibo. He should think about it in his mind. Think the words of Shema Yisrael in his mind while he's a Baal Keri. But when it comes to the brachot of Kriyat Shema, he should not even think about it. So what should he do? He should not think about all of that. Or all of that he should not even have in mind because he's in a state where he has to go to the mikveh and he's not allowed to. So what it tells us is that he's allowed to have in mind for the Shema. He should have Shema in mind, but not the brachot before and after. And what did we say about food? Brachot on food. He should have the bracha of after food in mind, meaning Berkat Hamazon he should have in mind, but the brachot before, he should not even think of it in his mind. Okay? So what we're going to see in the Gemara is that's because the things that we're saying you should say in your mind is from the Torah, and the things that we say you shouldn't even say, even in your mind, is from the rabbis. Shema Yisrael is from the Torah, so he has to think it in his mind. Brachot Kriyat Shema is from the rabbis, so he does not have to think about it. The bracha before a person eats food is from the Torah, from the rabbis? From the rabbis. So should he have it in mind? No. Again, we're talking about a Baal Keri, someone who had a seminal mission. But what about Berkat Hamazon? It's from the Torah. And since it's from the Torah, he should think about it in his mind. Okay? Now we're going to get into the source of Berkat Hamazon being from the Torah. And when we get into that source, we're also going to talk about Berkat Torah. Okay? Here we go. Sharing screen. Gemara. Masechah Berachot. Daf Chaf Aleph. Amud. Aleph. And if you're looking in the art scroll, it is on page 21A1. Amar Rabbi Yehuda on the right side. Here we go. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Sorry, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, not Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Minayin leberkat hamazon. How do we know that the bracha on food, leachareha, after you eat the food, mina Torah, is from the Torah? Minayin is asking for a scriptural source. When you see the word minayin, it's asking you for a source from the Torah or the Tanakh. Minayin is asking for a scriptural source. So when you see the word minayin, what you're going, the structure is always going to be that there's some law, some halacha, and it's asking what is the source for it. And what should follow is a source from the Tanakh. Okay, so that's the flow. And there'll be times where the Gemara will understanding what this word minayin is asking. Sometimes it'll give you an answer that's not from the Torah, and then it'll say, "What do you mean? I'm asking for a source," or it'll know that there is no source because it's only rabbinic. In this case, it's saying minayin leberkat hamazon le'achareya min Torah. What is the source that berkat hamazon after eating food is from the Torah? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, ve'achalta, you eat, v'savata, you're satisfied, uve'rachta et Adonai Elohecha, and you bless Hashem. So how do you know from the Torah that you have to make a bracha after you eat? The pasuk says, you eat, you're satisfied, you bless. And that order is taken literally. You eat, you get satisfied, and then you bless. So that's a source, a mitzvah from the Torah. Nothing tricky here. Minayin leberkat Torah lefaneha. How do we know that saying the bracha on Torah before Torah study, mina Torah, is required from the Torah? Which means the requirement to recite a bracha before you study Torah, that requirement is a Torah obligation. What is the source? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, this is a pasuk in Parashat Azinu. Ki Shem Adonai Ekra. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, for I am about to say the name of God. This is the way Rabbeinu Yonah explains. Ki Shem Adonai Ekra. As I'm about to say the name of God, Havu Godel Lelohenu, give glory to God. So as I'm about to say the name of Hashem, i.e., by studying Torah, first Havu Godel Lelohenu. First, give praise to Hashem. First, give glory to Hashem. So before you study Torah, Ki Shem Hashem Ekra, I'm about to say the name of Hashem. So before I do that, Havu Godel Elokeinu. Say greatness, say Hashem's greatness, which means say the bracha of Berkat Torah. So we just learned that the bracha of Berkat Hamazon is a mitzvah from the Torah. We also learned that, but that's after, not before. Before is rabbinic. And we also learned that the mitzvah of saying Berkat Torah before you read the Torah is from the Torah. Okay? Pretty amazing. Berkat Torah before reading Torah is from the Torah. Say that like 10 times. As long as you understand, then it's important. Okay, so what the Gemara is now going to say is it's going to say, hold on a second. It's very interesting. By food is the bracha afterwards that's from the Torah. By Torah study, it's the bracha that's before. By the way, before we continue, can anyone tell me when we say the Berkat Torah, bracha on the Torah, what are we referring to? When do we say this?
In the mornings.
Very good. Very good. We say this in the mornings. We say it right after Berkat Shachar. It's at the end of Berkat Shachar. And actually, there's 3 parts to this bracha. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about? What are the 3 parts of the bracha? That's the last one. That's the 3rd part. Correct. So here, how about I pull up the Siddur?
Al Divrei Torah.
Al Divrei Torah. Very good. You got it. So there's 3 brachot. Here. I wish I could throw the Kol Avotenu on the Siddur on the screen. Here we go. It's right here. Torah blessings. Okay, this is what you call Berkat Torah. You guys see? Why do they call it preparatory prayers? I guess it prepares you to study Torah. I don't know who wrote that, but here we go. Berkat Torah, Berachot Torah. Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. Right, this is according to Nusach. This is the way Edut Mizrach Sfaradim say it. Ashkenazim do it in a different way. We say that Asher Kiddushanu B'Mitzvotav, Hashem, you commanded us in to do the mitzvot. V'tzivanu, you sanctified us in your mitzvot. V'tzivanu, and He had commanded us al divrei Torah for Torah matters, meaning to study Torah. V'ha'arev na Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem, please sweeten these words for us. Ed divrei Torah b'finu, the words of Torah in our mouths. The ha'arev means to sweeten. Like what you're asking is, as I study this Torah, Hashem, please sweeten these words in my mouth. And in the mouths of all of Jewish people. And it should be that we, and our children, and our children's children, we should all know you. We should all know your name, which comes through Torah study. And we should all study Torah for the right reasons. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, hamelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael, who teaches Torah to the nation Israel. The first bracha is what you call a berkat mitzvah. Hashem, you commanded us to do mitzvot, and you commanded us to study Torah. The second one is saying, please sweeten these words for us in our mouths. And then there's a third one, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, blessed are you Hashem, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, you chose us from all the nations in the world. V'natan lanu et Torato, and He gave us the Torah. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, noten Torah, the one who gives the Torah. There are three elements to this bracha. The first is what you call a berkat mitzvah. Asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav. Hashem, you commanded us to do the mitzvot. Vetzivanu, and you commanded us al divrei Torah, to study Torah. That's the first one. The second one is more of a bakasha. It's a request. V'ha'arev na Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem, please let us have this deep connection to the words of the Torah. Make it sweet for us. And then the third one is a berkat shevach, or hoda'ah. It's really thanking God. Hashem, thank you for giving it to us. You have three berachot here, and all of these three berachot are serving different purposes. One is what you call a berkat mitzvah, a bracha that you say before you do a mitzvah. Another one is a bakasha, it's a request. Hashem, please make this something that we enjoy. And the third is a hoda'ah, it's thanking God. God, thank you for giving us the Torah. Three different elements. This is what we're referring to when we say berkat Torah, and I'm going to show this to you in the Rambam. Rambam says, "Hamashkim likro Torah." When one wakes up early to study Torah, when one gets up, kodem sheyikra kriyat Shema, ben karat b'Torah shebichtav, ben karat b'Torah sheba'al peh. He gets up in the morning, and before he says Shema, he wants to study Torah. Whether it's Torah shebichtav, which means the text of the Torah shebichtav of Tanakh, or it's Torah sheba'al peh, like Mishnayot. Notel yadav techila. He has to wash his hands. U'mevarech shalosh brachot. He has to say three brachot, v'achar kach koreh, and then only then can he read the Torah. Ve'eluhen, what are the three brachot? Asher kiddushanu mitzvah v'sivanu al divrei Torah. That's the first one. V'haravna Hashem, v'haravna Hashem Elokeinu divrei Torah v'finu v'fenu ha'iseh v'niyah nachanu v'aseh tzenu v'tzetzeh amcha beit Yisrael kulanu yadav oskei shortecha l'ishma baruch Hashem l'metu l'ma Yisrael. That's the second one, and the third one is asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim natan l'Hashem baruch Hashem noten Torah. These three brachot. It's very important that before one studies Torah in the morning, they should say all three of these brachot. Okay. What we're learning now in our Gemara is that this requirement is from the Torah. Amazing. Okay, let's do a little bit more, and then we're going to expand on this. But here we go. Before we go forward, let me ask you a question. If the bracha on Torah before is Mina Torah, and the bracha on food after is Mina Torah, can you logically deduce one of the other ones that should also be from the Torah? In other words, can you say, well, if by food I have to make a bracha after, then by Torah, when I have to make a bracha before, of course I have to make one after. Because I have to do one before I even started anything. I didn't even do anything yet. And afterwards, look, food, you have to do it afterwards. And there's nothing required before. Torah, there's something required before. Of course I have to say something after.
You have to find a connection in the Pesukim between Birkat Hamazon, between like eating and Torah, no?
Okay, so what Jaden is doing, okay, very good, Jaden.
I don't know if there is one, but if you wanted to make that deduction, you have to find one.
Okay. So Jaden, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to say, okay, Jaden's saying something amazing. Now, I happen to disagree with that point, but let's get into it. What Jaden is saying is as follows. Well, first, Jaden, let me elaborate the question from the other side also. Am I able to logically deduce the other way? Maybe I could say, look, food, I have to make a bracha. Wait, what did I say so far? I said,
you have to make it before for Torah.
For sure, you have to say one afterwards for Torah. Now I can say the other opposite one also. Food, I have to say bracha after. Now Torah, I'm not even required to say one after, and I have to say one before. So of course I have to say one before for Torah. For food. If I have to say one before for Torah, and I don't have to say anything afterwards, then by food, that I have to say something afterwards, of course I have to say something before. Okay.
It's spiritual, it's physical, spiritual.
Physical, spiritual, not connected. Okay. Okay, very good. So I think you guys are getting at it. So Jaden got 1 point, and you guys are saying something else. So let's go through it. So what Jaden is saying is, if you want to do that, you have to find some sort of a mechanism in the Torah to connect the two. You have to have like a hekesh or a gezerah shava, where it's the same word used in both areas. Gezerah shava is the same word used in both areas, and if it's used here and over there, so maybe then I could apply. Or if maybe these two laws are taught together in the same pasuk, so then if what applies to one applies to the other, that's what Jaden is saying. And Jaden is saying that doesn't exist, so then you can't extrapolate from one to the other. Now, Jaden, the reason I disagree with that specifically is because there is a concept called kal vachomer. What is kal vachomer?
Means like if you can do this, then all the more so you can do that. Like
Very good. There is one of the ways that we learn the Torah is you're 100% correct that you could learn the Torah from textual drashot, gezerah shava, or hekesh, or klal uprat. There's a lot of these tools for learning laws from the text, but there's also one tool that has nothing to do with the text, and that is just logical reasoning. If you could come up with a logical reason that, well, in this situation, that something is from the Torah, then of course in that situation it's from the Torah, that is valid. And I don't need a source for that. I don't need a textual source for that if I have a logical source for that. The problem here is that the logic isn't sound, because as you said, what are you comparing food to Torah study? Okay, so the Gemara now is going to try to make this extension and say, if I have to make a bracha before Torah and there's nothing required afterwards, then by food that I have to say something afterwards, of course I have to say before. And if I have to say something by food afterwards and nothing before, then by Torah, then I have to say something before. Of course I have to say something afterwards. And the Gemara says there's no logical deduction because the two are substantially different, as you guys said. But it's important to understand that the Gemara does consider this. The Gemara does consider this, even though there's no textual proof for that. Jaden, you get the difference?
yeah, I see.
You could have ways of making drashot from the text, or you could also have logic. It's just here the logic isn't sound. But if the logic were sound, it would apply, even though there is no textual reason to extend one from the other. Let's go ahead and see the Gemara. Here we go. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan wants to say, Lamadnu bikat Torah la'achareh. We can learn Berachot Torah is required afterwards, after Torah. Why? Min Berachot Hamazon, from Berachot Hamazon, mikal vachomer, through a logical inference. Through logical inference. How do they translate it? A fortiori. You guys know what a kal vachomer is? You know what a kal vachomer is? Let's see if you could articulate it. What is a kal vachomer?
It's like even more so like if the student is respecting the Torah even more so the rabbi should.
Okay, very good. That when you have two situations and one is more of a stretch than the other, and that case that's more of a stretch, there's a rule that applies, and of course the less of a stretch is going to apply. All right. Let's say, for example, I don't know, basic. Give me an example, something basic. Right? 200 and 100. What you have something on the tip of your tongue? Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, for sure. If you're required to say beracha, if you eat one plate of food, then if you had 2 plates of food, you have to say beracha afterwards? Yeah, of course, because that's like logical. Now, okay, very good. So we got what kal vachomer is. So it wants to say kal vachomer. That's what Rabbi Yochanan wants to say. That we know that you have to say Berachot Torah after studying of Torah. Min Berachot Hamazon, learning that out from Berachot Hamazon, mikal vachomer. Ubikrat Hamazon lefanea, and we also want to learn that you have to say bracha before food. Min Berachot Torah, mikal vachomer. From the fact that you have to say bracha before Torah study, kal vachomer. Right, and I sort of walked us through that. Berachot Torah la'achareh min Berachot Hamazon mikal vachomer. How are you going to learn that you're required to say bracha after Torah study? Uma mazon she'en tanun lefanav tanun la'acharav. Food doesn't require anything before, and it requires something after. Torah she'teuna lefanea ena din she'teuna la'acharav. Then Torah that it requires something before, or the more so it should require something afterwards. Here, food, all you gotta do is something afterwards. That means afterwards is important. Now here, Torah, you have to do before. Well, if you do before, and before is not even that important because look at food. When you look at food, after is more important. So in Torah study, they require you to do before. Well, afterwards is even more important. So of course you have to do after. That's your logical inference. What do I learn from food that afterwards is more important? So apply that to Torah. Torah, they require you to say something before. Then of course you have to say something afterwards, because afterwards is more important. And then you could say the opposite the other way. And then I can learn that you have to say bracha before you eat food from a kal vachomer. Torah does not require something afterwards. It only requires something before. That tells you that before is more important. So if before is more important, and I learned that out from Berachot Torah, then on food, mazon shu te'una charav, food that you're required to say something afterwards. Of course, you have to say something before. You have to say something before because that's more important. Yes.
If this is like based off logical reasoning, then wouldn't a Torah be superior to food? Then why would you copy the laws of the Torah to the food?
Okay.
It makes sense to copy the laws of the food to the Torah.
Very good. Very good. So you're saying, okay, for a kal vachomer to work, it has to be logical, right? And now what you're saying is Torah is substantially different from food. Okay, but hold on a second. Hold on a second. So you're saying Torah is at a higher level, right? Okay, so at least this should work one way. If Torah is at a higher level, then from that I should deduce that I have to make a bracha on food beforehand. Because if Torah is so important and requires something before, food's not even that important, and it requires something afterwards, of course I have to say something before. Yeah, I said it right. Okay, I guess I really could like argue this in many ways. So you're making a great point, but the way you're saying it is that Torah is at a higher level. So if Torah is at a higher level, then maybe there are certain, or you know what, I could even say it the other way around. If Torah is at a higher level than food is so much lower and it requires a bracha afterwards. Torah is at a higher level. Of course, it requires something afterwards. That's what you're concluding. You see how? Okay, so there you go. So you actually can use your levels and still make this work. Yeah. Right. So now what's interesting is that each of these might work by themselves, but can they really work together? Can you say afterwards is more important, before is more important, right? But each one by itself, it works. And if each one works by itself, then I'm stuck. Maybe I can say both work, or maybe that's the reason I can say like, look, I don't know which one you're right, but they can't both be right. Since they both can't be right, so I'm throwing both out. Maybe. But here's what the Gemara is going to say. The Gemara is basically going to say almost what Richard is saying, but it goes a step further. And it says, like what Joey said, apples and oranges. It's not that one is higher. Apple is not higher than an orange. Orange is not higher than apple. They're different. And Gabriel said it. Ika lemifrach, you could say there's a difference. The difference is ma lamazon sheken nehene. Food is unique in that there is a physical benefit to it. There is no physical benefit to Torah study. Yeah, it makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, it's not a physical, it doesn't have a physical effect the way food does. So I have to make a bracha after I eat because it has a physical effect. But that doesn't mean that I have to say a bracha after I study Torah. Because, yeah, maybe you could say, well, food, I have to say bracha after and nothing before. Then Torah, of course, if I have to say something before, of course I have to say something after. No, it's not of course, because there's no physical benefit. Food is unique in that it has a physical benefit. Umma Torah sheken chaye olam. Torah is also different than food. Why? Because it is a spiritual endeavor. So before I start a spiritual endeavor of chaye olam, I have to say bracha. That doesn't mean I have to say bracha before I eat food. It's a physical thing. You could simply argue eating food is like putting gas in the car. It's not, it's the fuel that you need. but that isn't attaining olam haba. It's not attaining a chaye olam. It's just what you have to do. You want to, then you're going to start making bracha before everything. You have to shower, you're going to say bracha. You're going to wash
Rabbi,
yes.
maybe you can look at it this way also. Food is nourishment for your body, and Torah is nourishment for your soul.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what the Gemara is getting at. The Gemara is saying food has a physical benefit and enjoyment that Torah does not have. Like you said, it's nourishment for the body. And Torah has a spiritual effect that food does not have. Okay? Now, we could get like philosophical here, but before we go into philosophy, this is a clear distinction. Food is physical, Torah is spiritual. It's intellectual. It's the neshama. It's something of the intellect, not of the body. Therefore, you cannot draw a logical conclusion either way. Because you might say, well, it applies here. No, it only applies for food afterwards because you have the physical benefit afterwards. And for Torah, the only reason you're about to say it is because you're about to enter into a metaphysical, spiritual world. So you have to say one before, but that doesn't apply to food. So therefore, the logic is not sound. It breaks down because they're substantially different, which is like what you said, right? Gabriel, this is the first thing Gabriel said. One is physical, one is spiritual. So you can't apply one to the other. You don't have a kal v'chomer. Okay? Now the Gemara is going to say a second disproof, and this second disproof is from our Mishnah. Remind me, what did our Mishnah say about food for a Baal Keri? Okay, well, Baal Keri thinks the bracha afterwards in his mind, but before, not even that. So you want to bring me this fancy logic that says, oh, from Torah, I know that bracha before food is from the Torah. It's like, that goes straight against our Mishnah. Our Mishnah very clearly says that that's not the halacha. So yeah, you're trying to come up with this fancy logic, but we know that that's not the correct law. So since it's not the correct law, your deduction must be incorrect. It doesn't say why, but we know that it is incorrect. I know you have a question. Let's just read this line. We're going to come to you. The second issue with this logical kal v'chomer, Tanan, our Mishnah said, Al mazon mevarech le'acharav, for food, you say that you have the bracha in mind afterwards, ve'eno mevarech lefanav, but you do not have in mind the bracha before, tiyufta. Therefore, this has been refuted. Tiyufta means it's refuted. What Rabbi Yochanan tried to do, to try to extend the mitzvah from the Torah on food to say before, and the mitzvah from the Torah to say on Torah study afterwards, has been refuted. Number one, the logic is not sound. Number two, it goes clearly against our Mishnah, where it says a Baal Keri should only have in mind for the bracha after food, not before, because after is from the Torah, before is not. Okay, questions, go ahead.
If we were able to make a kal v'chomer here, would it be deoraita?
Oh, this is, okay, very good. Gabriel's asking a good question. Gabriel's question is, if we were to make a kal v'chomer, would that give the law Torah status? This is going back to what I was saying to Jaden. The answer is yes. One of the 13 ways that the Torah is learned that you could make drashot is through kal v'chomer, through logic. And if something logically is sound, then it's a Torah obligation. The Torah is going to teach us certain things, and if something comes out of that logically, then it's also from the Torah, even though it's not explicit. So what would mean is, if this were correct, then a Baal Keri would have to have it in mind before or afterwards. So clearly it's not the same level, which means this logic is not correct. Yes. Okay, good. All right, let's have some fun before we move on. Is Birkat HaTorah from the Torah? Yes. What's your source? Kishem Adonai Ekra, Havagodel Eloheinu. Before I say the name of God, I will give praise to Hashem first. That's the source. And what source taught? Where did you have this? Where did we learn this? I'm asking a very right here. What is it?
Azinu.
No, yeah, Hazinu is the pasuk. The answer is Gemara Masechah Berachot Daf Chaf Amud Aleph. Okay, if someone asks you, no, the reason I'm telling you this is because there's something important here. If I ask you, is Berkat Torah lifanav mina Torah? You could say yes. What's your source? Gemara Masechah Berachot Daf Chaf Amud Aleph quotes a pasuk from the Torah. Kishem Hashem Akra v'godel Elokeinu. The problem is as follows. The Rambam in his Sefer HaMitzvot lists 613 mitzvot. Okay, one of the mitzvot that he lists is Birkat Hamazon, is one of the 613. He does not list Birkat Torah as one of the mitzvot, one of the 613 mitzvot. So all of the commentators ask the Rambam. Okay, this is all the same Gemara. It's all Gemara Masechah Berachot of Chaf Aleph. It says in the same flow that Birkat Hamazon afterwards is from the Torah, and Birkat Torah before is from the Torah. And then you're even trying to play the two together. It's all the same flow. What did the Rambam do? He says, this one is part of the mitzvah. This one, meh. How does either you had this page of your Gemara or you didn't have this page of your Gemara? This is what they ask on the Rambam. And therefore the Ramban in Sefer Mitzvot, he argues on the Rambam and says, the Rambam, you left it out. And one of the mitzvot, one of the 613, according to the Ramban, is saying a bracha before Torah study. That's a mitzvah from the Torah. And you ask him, what's your source? He says, Berachot Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. This is his source. So we have this issue with the Rambam. So what do you do? All of the commentators are dealing with this question. How come the Rambam didn't count this? Yes, let's hear your answer.
So, no, I just have a question.
Okay.
If we were to count the bracha before Torah learning as a mitzvah, then wouldn't one person have 614 mitzvah and it would be like totally different?
Oh, so when the Ramban adds that, he needs to take something else off the list. So in the Sefer HaMitzvot that the Rambam counts 613. This is all based on a Gemara Masechah Makot that says there are 613 mitzvot. Now, since there are 613 mitzvot, they have what's called the Moneh HaMitzvot, the ones that are making lists. They go through, but there's a lot more than 613. So they have to come up with rules. I include this, I don't include that. I include these types of mitzvot, I don't include those types of mitzvot. And there's one called the Sefer Mitzvot, the Smak, Sefer Mitzvot, Mitzvot Gdolot. He has his book, there's a Smak, there's another one. The Rambam wrote the Sefer Mitzvot. He made a list, and the Ramban goes on the Rambam and argues, says, this on your list, throw it out, but this should be on your list. So you're right. According to the Ramban, he's going to include the bracha before Torah study as a mitzvah, but he has to take something else that the Rambam has on his list, and he has to omit that because you're right. You're constricted. You have to have 613, but they don't go above the 613, so they have to take something else off the list. There's a lot that the Rambam includes that really you would say should not be included. So meaning the Ramban would argue and say should not be included. Okay, so anyone want to attempt to give an answer for the Rambam? According to the Rambam, it's only rabbinic. Or is it? We don't actually know. The Rambam doesn't say it's rabbinic. All the Rambam does is that he makes a list of mitzvot and he doesn't include it on his list. So the Ramban says, oh, you're not including it. There's one rabbi, the Aruch Laner, says even the Rambam counts it as a mitzvah from the Torah. It says it in our Gemara. It is. Why didn't he include it as part of his 613? So the Aruch Laner says he's including it in another mitzvah. And what mitzvah is that? The mitzvah of Torah study itself. And enwrapped in the mitzvah of Torah study would be to say the bracha before you do the Torah study. And all of that is from the Torah. Meaning, you could either, what the Ramban does is he attacks the Rambam and says, how come you didn't include this in the list? Because you think it's only rabbinic, but it's from the Torah. You're wrong. Okay, now you have to explain, well, according to the Rambam, why didn't you add this to your list? Do you really hold it's rabbinic? And if it's only rabbinic, then why does our Gemara say it's not? One way to defend the Rambam is to say, even the Rambam agrees it's from the Torah, because our Gemara says it's from the Torah. How come he didn't put it on his list? Because he included that in the mitzvah of Torah study. You study Torah, you say a bracha before, it's all part of the same mitzvah. Whereas food, or Birkat Hamazon, it's not a mitzvah of eating. So the mitzvah for food is only the bracha. But the mitzvah for Torah study is Torah study with the bracha before. This is one way of explaining the Rambam. It's just a big famous thing that you have to be aware of because it's one of these situations where the Rambam, this is the second time on this daf where the Rambam says something that is explicitly against our Gemara. It's the second time. A few lines up, it said that tefillah is from the rabbis. You remember that? Let me scroll up. It's the thing that the last line that we learned beforehand. How come a Balkari who's in the middle of saying Amidan realizes he's a Balkari? He has to just wrap it up. Why do you have to wrap it up? Because he really shouldn't even be thinking about tefillah. Why shouldn't a Balkari be thinking about tefillah? The Gemara tells us why. Tefillah de Rabbanan. It's rabbinic. This is against the Rambam, who tells us it's one of the mitzvot of the Torah. That's one. And the Ramban argues with him. Here you go, Gavin. I got your answer. The Rambam says tefillah is from the Torah, and the Rambam does not include Birkat Torah on his list of mitzvot. The Ramban says you got them both wrong. It's all on the same page. The line before says tefillah is from the rabbi, so I take that off your list. And the Gemara says the bracha before is a mitzvah from the Torah, so I put that onto the list. So you actually see two things on this page where the Rambam is just clearly against, and you have to explain how the Rambam gets to that. Okay? Any other questions before we move on? Yes.
Yeah.
Joey.
Isn't it
An understanding of one is accepted as right and the other one maybe not.
Okay, it's a very good question. Between the Rambam and the Ramban, you're saying like who's right? Okay, it's a very good question. We're probably not going to get to the answer of that question, because then you have to get into the system of halacha. But in general, what we say is it's not that one is right and one is wrong, it's that they have different understandings. And both could potentially be correct. When it comes to halacha, what difference does it make? What's the nafkamina if you forgot? So yeah, if you forgot, there might be certain situations where you should rely on the Rambam and not repeat it, and there's certain situations where you have to. But I think it's a good question. It's pretty heavy in terms of like who's right and who's wrong. It's a broader discussion. In this case, I believe Shulchan Aruch holds like the Rambam, that it's only rabbinic.
How about generally speaking, we pull by Rambam's list though, or it's also fluid?
No. So this is what I'm saying. No, I know. No, this is like probably a broader. Maybe I'm complicating this more than I need to, but there's a broader philosophical question of when you have different rabbis giving you different things, how do you reconcile? Do you say one is right? You say one is wrong? Do you have to go all or nothing? Like, do you have to only go according to the Rambam and like 613 out of 613, and you can't disagree with even one of them? Do you have to subscribe to one view? Can you pick and choose? Can you follow a rabbi who is picking and choosing? Are there rules? All of these are very important questions. I'll tell you like this, that this is the system of halacha, where you follow Shulchan Aruch, and there are times where Shulchan Aruch picks like one, and there are times where he picks like another. And even the Shulchan Aruch, we don't always hold like. There's rules in the world of halacha. I'll just tell you like this, the Vilna Gaon says something amazing. The Vilna Gaon says there's many more than 613 mitzvot. There's thousands of mitzvot in the Torah. It's just a question of what is going to be on this official list. But all of these are mitzvot, and there's many mitzvot from the Torah. I think what we'll say is, bringing it to halacha, you have to ask a halachic question of what's the difference. Lamai nafkamina. What difference does it make if this is from the Torah, if this is from the rabbis? One very simple thing is, let's say I forgot. If I forgot whether I said this bracha or not, should I say it again or not? That could be one way of like trying to pinpoint. If it's from the Torah, maybe you should say it again, because you have a mitzvah from the Torah, you're not sure if you did it, you do it again. If it's only from the rabbis, then you shouldn't say it again. So that could be one element of this halacha, but let's just take it for now that there's a machloket. Igal, I'm going to come to you. Yes.
Was there was also like a third thing on this page about the Rambam, where he holds that your thoughts do count. No.
Oh, yeah. I didn't say that yet, did I?
I know. Maybe not. It's something that I knew.
But that's exactly correct. You know what? We maybe I did say we should. That's a big Rambam at the beginning of Hilchot Tefillah. We got to do it. Now that Igal said it, we got to do it. Okay, Igal, give me a second. Let's see if we can do it. 1 second. Nikki, who was that?
My son.
What's his name? Bring him back.
Mika, come. The rabbi wants to talk to you.
Mika, come back, Mika.
Mika.
Balim Hashem. Okay, let's see if I can find the Rambam while Mika's coming. Let's see.
Hi, Rabbi. Say
Oh,
hi.
Mika. Hi, Mika.
Say hi.
Mika, what's your name? Jigar.
What's
He
your
said
name?
Mika. Mika. Oh.
How old are you?
2? Yeah, I knew that. Mika, what do you have in your hand? What is that? Is that ice cream? Strawberry ice cream? Can I have some? Okay, Mika, we're gonna continue Shira now. I love you.
Say I love you. Love you, Rabbi.
Aw. I'm a complete stranger, but okay, let's see the Rambam Hilchot Tefillah. I'm pretty sure it's Tefillah, it's Hilchot Brachot. No, it's Hilchot Brachot. Igal, where is it?
I don't
Brachot.
know.
Is it
I
Hilchot
just
Brachot?
I just know what he says.
Okay. Belibo. Is it Hilchot Tefillah? Where? Chapter 1, Halacha Zayin? For some reason I'm remembering it's in the beginning of the first. It's in the first chapter. Hilchot Tefillah 1. Something tells me Zayin. No, it's not here. Anyone know what I'm talking about? The Rambam says that you could say brachot in your heart, in your mind. And that is, come on, bo. So here's how you do it. You search a word that you know is in there, and then you filter on the Rambam, Mishneh Torah, maybe here, maybe blessings. Okay, that's it. What did I say? I said 1:7, didn't I? I was right. Okay, let me share screen. I haven't seen this in a while. Okay, Kol Berachot Kulan, says the Rambam. Igal, this is in your Zechut. It's in Hilchot Brachot, Perek Aleph, Halacha Zayin, 1:7. Kol Berachot Kulan, Sarich Shiashmiya le'ozno. All brachot that someone says, he has to be able to hear. It has to be audible. Mashu Omer, what he's saying. Ve'im lo yishmiya le'ozno. And if he does not hear what he said, Yatza, he fulfills his obligation. Ben shosi bisfatav, whether you said it and just couldn't hear it, ben sheberech belibo, or even if you did not even utter it, and you just thought it, you fulfilled your obligation. Amazing. If, this is what the Rambam is telling us, that if you say a bracha, when you say a bracha, you should hear yourself. But if you don't, you fulfill your obligation. That means ideally, you have to hear it. But there are times where, if you're in a situation where you didn't hear it, you fulfill your obligation. Whether you said it and it was inaudible, or even if you said it in mind, in your heart, and you didn't even utter it, you fulfill your obligation. From this, there's a famous thing that let's say you're in a situation where you're not sure if you should say bracha or not. There's a bracha. So what do? You think it in your mind. Because at least, according to the Rambam, you're fulfilling your obligation. Someone has to say shakol. Did I say this bracha? I don't know if I said this bracha. So since it's a safek of a rabbinic mitzvah, because saying a bracha before food is rabbinic, so what do? It's only rabbinic. You do not need to say the bracha. But according to the Rambam, if you say the bracha in your mind, you fulfill your obligation. And there's nothing wrong with thinking in my mind thinking it. What is it? I'm saying Hashem's name in vain. I didn't say Hashem's name. So therefore, this is one of the common things that they say in a situation where you don't know if you said a bracha, and because of the way the rule is, you wouldn't be required to say it. You should at the very least have it in mind, according to the Rambam. So so Igal, you're absolutely right. The Rambam takes this and applies it to brachot across the board. Hilchot brachot perek aleph halacha zayin. Very good.
So is he following the opinion of Rav Chasta that says that saying
that's
saying it in your mind counts?
Right, because what does Rav Chasta say? Hirhur kedibur. No, Rav Chasta says hirhur lav kedibur dami.
Lav kedibur.
So who says zot omeret is Ravina? It says
Ravina.
Kedibur Dami. So that's right. According to Shulchan Aruch, Siman Samach Bet. Okay. Okay, yeah, it sounds like this is what the Rambam is saying here, Ur Kedibur Dami. Yes.
Does that mean he holds that all bracha before midoraita? Because we in the Gemara we said that midorabanan we can't think things in our head.
Because that's a Balkari.
Oh.
So that's a law unique to Balkari, which we're going to say does not apply anymore. Okay, so in the case of a Balkari, what they say is you have to minimize what you do only to Torah things, and even the Torah things, you say it in your mind. So that's what Ravina says. That means what you say in your mind works, right? And then the Rambam says this, the halacha, that yeah, what you have in your mind works. So this is they'll very often rely on this Rambam. Okay, let's keep going. We got to cover ground. All right. Amazing Gemara. We're going to continue Gemara Masechet Berachot. Let me ask you a question. Is the mitzvah to recite Kriyat Shema, is it from the Torah or from the rabbis? From the Torah. What's the source? Well, okay, but what's the source that Shema is from the Torah? What is it? Is that Berachot? Okay.
Shema itself, no?
Yes, I want to hear words. Should I say it? You're saying it. That's tefillin. That's tefillin. The answer is b'shoch b'chav kumecha, right? V'dibarta bam b'shoch b'chav kumecha. You should say the words of Shema b'shoch b'chav when you're lying down, or kumecha when you rise. That's the source for Shema from the Torah. B'shoch b'chav kumecha. Okay. You have a requirement to say Shema when you're lying down, when you're getting up. Okay. Now, if it's from the Torah, and a mitzvah that's from the Torah that I'm not sure if I did it or not, you have to do it again. A mitzvah that's from the rabbis that I'm not sure if I did it or not, you're not required to do it again. I mean, if you can, you might as well. But if there's any reason why I shouldn't, then if it's a rabbinic mitzvah, then I wouldn't. But if it's from the Torah, this is the rule. Safek deoraita v'chumra. If there's a mitzvah from the Torah that I'm not sure whether I did it or not, I have to be strict and I have to do it. Safek Rabbanan, if it's a mitzvah from the rabbis that I'm not sure if I did it or not, lekula, you could be lenient and you don't have to do it. Okay? Here we go. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda tells us. Again, Rabbi Yehuda speaking here. Safek kara kriyat Shema, safek lo kara. A person is not sure if you read Shema or not. Eino chozer v'koreh. You don't have to go back and say it again. Wow! So what you're learning from Rabbi Yehuda is that if a person is a safek, whether he said Shema or not, he doesn't have to say it again, which implies Shema is from the rabbis. That's what it implies. Safek amar emet v'yatziv, safek lo amar. If he has a doubt as to whether he said emet v'yatziv, which is the bracha after Shema, he's not sure if he said that or not. Chozer ve'omer emet v'yatziv, he needs to repeat it. So the Rabbi Yehuda, and you remember from our Mishnah, what did we say in our Mishnah? That a Balkari has to have one in mind. Shema, and the brachot of Kriyat Shema, say he shouldn't even think about it. Why? Because it's rabbinic. Shema is from the Torah. He has to think it in his mind. Berachot of Kriyat Shema is rabbinic. He shouldn't even think it. Rabbi Yehuda is telling us the exact opposite. Rabbi Yehuda comes and tells us, if you're not sure if you said Shema, don't even say it. If you're not sure if you said the bracha after Shema, you have to say it. The Gemara is going to my ta'ama. What's the reason? Here, if you had any doubt what his reason is, he'll tell you explicitly. Kriyat Shema d'Rabbanan. Kriyat Shema is rabbinic. Emet v'yatziv deoraita. The bracha after Shema, Emet v'yatziv, is deoraita. Okay, we're gonna have to. Okay, now let's see it. Mativ Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef brings a contradiction. You're telling me Shema is only rabbinic? B'shoch bechav kumecha. That's your source. That it's from the Torah. It says you should recite the Shema when you lie down and when you get up. That's your source. That Shema is from the Torah. So how can you, Rabbi Yehuda, say that Shema is the Rabbanan? Amalei Abaye. So Abaye answers, Ahu b'divrei Torah kitiv. You know what Rabbi Yosef says? Rabbi Yehuda says, rather? Rabbi Yehuda says, when it says that you have to say it when you lie down, when you get up, it's just talking about Torah. You have an obligation to study any pasuk from the Torah. If you want, when you go lie down, you can say Bereshit bara Elohim. When you get up, you could say Et hashamayim et haaretz. That's it. This is how Rabbi Yehuda can say that Shema is rabbinic. Because doesn't it say in the Shema that you have to say when you lie down, when you go up? Yes, That's talking about generically some part of the Torah. Wow. That's crazy. Not crazy. But it's like, it's wild because the fact that Shema is a mitzvah from the Torah is probably like one of the most well accepted things. But according to Rav Yehuda, it's not the case. The halakha is not like Rav Yehuda. Okay, this is a situation where the halakha is not like him. Very clearly, the halakha is not like him. But the Gemara is now going to ask from this question that I brought up from our Mishnah. Tanan, but we learned in the Mishnah, Baal Keri meharher belibo, ve'eno mevarech lo lefanev lo lachareh. A Baal Keri that's not allowed to recite Shema. He should have Shema in his mind, because that's from the Torah, so at least he should have in his mind. Ve'eno mevarech lo lefanev lo lachareh. But he should not have the Berachot of Shema in mind, not the ones before, not the ones after. So why? Because those are only rabbinic. And this is just continuing the quote. And on food, he has to have in mind the bracha afterwards, not the bracha before. But you, Rav Yehuda, if you're going to tell me that emet v'yatziv de'oraita, the emet v'yatziv, the bracha after Shema is from the Torah, livroch le'achareya, then why is it that a Baal Keri does not have in mind the bracha of emet v'yatziv? The whole Mishnah is backwards. The Mishnah says a Baal Keri should say Shema in his mind and should not say Berachot in his mind. But according to you, Rav Yehuda, he shouldn't say Shema in his mind, and he should say Emet V'Yatziv in his mind, because that's from the Torah. So the whole thing is backwards. So the Gemara is going to say, okay, when I tell you that Emet V'Yatziv is from the Torah, how could it be from the Torah? Where does it say in the Torah that you have to say Emet V'Yatziv? It says that you have to remember that you left Egypt. And what's in Emet V'Yatziv? ממצרים גאלתנו, השם אלוקינו, מבית עבדים פדיתנו, כל בכרם הרכת, חורכי ישראל גאלת, וים סוף להם בקעת. It talks about what happened when we left Egypt. And in the Torah it says, "Laman tizkor et yom tzedekah me'eretz Yisrael kol yemei chayecha." You have to remember that you left Egypt. That's why Emet V'Yatziv is from the Torah. Why is reciting the bracha of Emet V'Yatziv from the Torah? Because it mentions that we left Egypt. And mentioning that we left Egypt is from the Torah. So here's the Gemara is going to say, why is it that if someone is in doubt whether he recited Emet V'Yatziv or not, he's required to say it because it's from the Torah? It's from the Torah because of Yetziat Mitzrayim, ha'adkar le b'kriyat Shema. But you already fulfilled that obligation with the Shema. Okay, let's explain this. When what Rav Yehuda is really getting at its core, when Rav Yehuda says Shema is rabbinic and Emet V'Yatziv is from the Torah, Rav Yehuda's opinion is as follows: Shema is rabbinic. Mentioning that we left Egypt daily is from the Torah. Okay? Now, Emet V'Yatziv mentions that we left Egypt. So if someone didn't mention it, or he's not sure if he mentioned it, then he has to say it. Because you have a mitzvah from the Torah to say Zechirat Yetziat Mitzrayim, that you left Egypt every day. But that's also the case that at the end of the Shema, what does it say? Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. So you mention it in the Shema. Shema in and of itself is not a mitzvah from the Torah. Mentioning that we left Egypt is a mitzvah from the Torah. So what does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda says, if you're not sure if you said Shema, you don't need to repeat it because of the Shema, because that's only rabbinic. But what he's saying is, in that situation, is like the guy knows that he said Emet V'Yatziv. The guy knows that he mentioned Egypt, and he doesn't need to repeat the Shema for Egypt purposes. You're telling him, do you need to repeat Shema for Shema purposes? And the answer is no. But if he forgot Emet V'Yatziv, and presumably he did not say Shema, which means this is my only way of fulfilling the mentioning that I left Egypt, and you're not sure, you got to repeat it. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So now, going back to our Mishnah, you, Rabbi Yehuda, are saying Shema is rabbinic. Leaving Egypt, this Yetziat Mitzrayim is from the Torah, meaning Emet V'Yatziv is from the Torah. How come the Baal Keri has to have in mind Shema and does not have to have in mind Emet V'Yatziv? The answer is, Emet V'Yatziv is only from the Torah in the fact that it has Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's already in the Shema. That's already in the Shema. So since it's already in the Shema, he doesn't have to have Emet V'Yatziv in his mind. Okay? Let's see it and I'll explain it. Okay? One more time. let's get this flow. Okay, let's just see for a minute. Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, "Safek kara kriyat Shema, safek lo kara, eno chozer v'koreh." If someone's not sure if he recited Shema, he doesn't need to say it again. Safek amar emet yatziv, safek lo amar chozer ve'omer emet yatziv. But if he's not sure if he said emet yatziv, he needs to repeat it. My tama. Why are you treating these two differently in a situation where you're not sure? Kriyat Shema de Rabbanan, emet yatziv de Oraita, because kriyat Shema is only rabbinic, and emet yatziv is from the Torah. Okay, the Gemara says, what do you mean Shema? First, it attacks the Shema part, and then it's going to attack the Berachot Kriyat Shema. How does it attack the Shema part? Mativ Rabbi Yosef b'shoch v'chav kumecha. What do you mean Shema is rabbinic? It says b'shoch v'chav kumecha. He says, oh, that's talking about Amar le Abaye ha'u b'divrei Torah k'tiv. That's talking about generic, any part of the Torah. As long as you study some part of Torah every night and day, you're fine. That's all that's there. Okay, so we attacked him on the fact that Rav Yehuda says Shema is rabbinic. We said, no, it's a source from the Torah. We say, no, that's talking about something else. Okay, so now let's attack him on the second part, where he says Emet v'Yatziv is from the Torah. How are we going to attack him? From our Mishnah, Baal Keri. Tanan, Baal Keri me'arer b'libo v'nu mevarech lo lefanei lo acharei. He doesn't have to have in mind the bracha afterwards. You see that the bracha afterwards of Emet v'Yatziv is not from the Torah. And if it really is from the Torah, then how come a Baal Keri does not have to have in mind? So my time mivarech, I'll tell you why a person is required to repeat it if he forgets. It's because of mentioning that he left Egypt. But in a situation where a Baal Keri is already having in mind the entire Shema, part of what he's having in mind is that he left Egypt, and therefore he already fulfilled that obligation. So he does not need to have Emet v'Yatziv in his mind anymore. In other words, Emet v'Yatziv is a way to fulfill the obligation, but from the Torah. But it's not the obligation from the Torah. What's the obligation from the Torah? Mentioning Egypt. So when a Baal Keri has in mind Shema, he's included in that having in mind that he's leaving Egypt. Therefore, he doesn't have to have in mind to say Emet v'Yatziv afterwards. But the Gemara says, V'neimaha v'lo leveha. If that's true, Shema, Emet v'Yatziv, and you're saying that Emet v'Yatziv is from the Torah, from the fact you left Egypt. Why don't you have to say it? Oh, because you're saying it for the Shema part. What if I say it in the Emet v'Yatziv part? What if you tell a Baal Keri, you don't need to say Shema, you don't need to think Shema, all you got to do is think about Emet v'Yatziv. Would that solve my problems? So the Gemara says, L'neimaha v'lo liveha. The Baal Keri, tell him to have in mind Emet v'Yatziv, which includes Yetziat Mitzrayim, then he doesn't have to have Shema in mind. Kriyat Shema Adifa, and he says, no, I'll tell you why Shema is actually better, because it has a second element. That second element is accepting God. Emet v'Yatziv does not have that. It just has the fact that we left Egypt. It doesn't have that God is one. It doesn't have accepting God. So, in other words, according to Rav Yosef, you really could fulfill your obligation of Yetziat Mitzrayim with Shema or Emet v'Yatziv. Either one is fine. If you're not sure when you said if you said Shema, presumably he is sure that he already did the mitzvah of Yetziat Mitzrayim, so you don't need to repeat it. And if you have in mind, and if you're not sure if you said Emet v'Yatziv, and presumably you did not say the Shema, so you still need to fulfill your obligation of Yetziat Mitzrayim, you do need to repeat it. There's one footnote about there's a cross. Okay. Here. Look at footnote number 17. It's an important one. Okay. Footnote number 17 in the article. What time is it? Okay. Footnote number 17. I'll read it. The Gemara below questions whether it is really possible that the recitation of Shema is not demanded from the biblical law. At this point, however, the Gemara contends that this is indeed the case, and this is why one need not repeat the Shema out of doubt. Okay? The recitation, the second paragraph, the recitation of Emet v'Yatziv, on the other hand, indeed constitutes the fulfillment of a biblical obligation. This blessing contains mention of our deliverance from Egypt, and indeed daily mention of Exodus is biblically required. As such, one repeats this blessing if he is unsure whether he said it, for in uncertainties pertaining to biblical law, the course of greater stringency is followed. Okay? Look at the next paragraph. Rabbeinu Yonah suggests that the Gemara's twofold statement proceeds as follows. If one is uncertain whether he said Shema, he does not need to say it again. But if he is uncertain whether he said the Shema and Emet V'Yatziv, or whether he failed to say both of these, then let him repeat Emet V'Yatziv in order to fulfill his Exodus obligation. Meaning the way the Rabbeinu Yonah says it is that if he's not sure if he said both of them, then he should say Emet V'Yatziv again. Right? The Gemara does not, however, consider a case where the person knew he recited Shema, but was uncertain whether he recited Emet V'Yatziv. Because indeed, in such a case, the person need not repeat anything. For the third section of Shema also mentions the Exodus, and he would therefore have certainly fulfilled the obligation to mention Exodus through the recitation. So the way the Rabbeinu Yonah explains it is that it's a situation where someone is not sure if he said Shema or Emet V'Yatziv, he wasn't sure about anything. So in such a situation, he could repeat Emet V'Yatziv and he's good. He could also say Shema and he's good. But that's the opinion of Rav Yosef. Okay, Gavin, you had a question or was it covered? Okay, good. Yes.
Then you can also just say you don't have to recite that dimensions.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. That if you're not sure if you recited Emet V'Yatziv and Shema, you could just simply say Hashem took us out of Egypt, and that would fulfill that obligation as well. Rabbi Yehuda, it seems like Rabbi Yehuda was just trying to push some buttons here, and he was just like trying to like go the opposite of everyone. But like, there's a lot of caveats to his statement here. That like, well, you could also do it with Shema, and that's why in our Mishnah, it tells the Balkari that you have to say Shema only because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So then let me say something else. Let me say Emet V'Yatziv. No, but Shema has even more because it also has accepting God. So Rabbi Yehuda makes it work. He makes it work. Fine. But Rabbi Elazar argues and says as following: Safek kara kriyat Shema, safek lo kara. If he's not sure if he said Shema or not, chozer v'koreh kriyat Shema. You have to repeat it. Why? You tell me why. Because Shema is d'oraita. Very good, Gavin. If you're not sure whether you said Shema or not, what do? You repeat it. Why? Because it's from the Torah. Safek hitpalel. And now Rabbi Elazar is going to the next case. Because Rabbi Yehuda spoke about Shema and Emet V'Yatziv, Brachav Shema. Rabbi Elazar says, let me first argue about Shema, and now moving on to the next case. Safek hitpalel, safek lo hitpalel. The guy is not sure if he said Tefillah yet. Did I pray Mincha yet? I don't remember. I wanted to. Did I actually do it? Or did I pray Arvit? This happens sometimes with Arvit. Did I say yet? I don't know if I said it. The guy's about to go to bed and he's like, I don't know if I said it tonight. Was that last night? So the person's not sure if he prayed. What does he do? Eno, chozer, o mitpalel, says Rabbi Elazar. You do not repeat it. Why? Following our same flow. Because it's rabbinic. It's rabbinic. Shema, you're not sure. Rabbi Elazar is saying, if you're not sure if you said Shema, repeat it from the Torah. If you're not sure if you prayed, you don't need to repeat it. Don't repeat it because it's rabbinic. Rabbi Yochanan comes and says, if only, what does ulvai mean? Ulvai, they translate it as if only. This is one of, yeah, very good, Jared. This is one of those things that it's very helpful to know Farsi. Koshki. Ulvai means koshki. There's no word like that in English. If only. When I say the words if only, you still don't know what I mean. If only what? What does that mean? But if it's like koshki, it's like, I wish. Ulvai is I wish. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Ulvai sheitpalel adam kol hayam kulo. I wish you could be praying all day long. So now, we have to try to understand what exactly is going on here. Because Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan are arguing about something. Okay? Now, there's one more opinion that we have to say, and then we're going to say no, you know what? I have to explain this over here. Okay, there's a machloket as to how to understand this machloket. Okay, what does Rabbi Elazar tell us? Rabbi Elazar says, let's say you're not sure if you prayed. What should you do? Don't do it. You don't need to pray again. Why? Because it's only rabbinic. Question I have is like, well, what if I want to? Am I allowed to? Is Rabbi Elazar telling me that you're not allowed to pray again? Or is he telling me I'm not required to pray again? And if I want to, am I allowed to? I know you're telling me I don't need to, but can I? And then what does Rabbi Yochanan say? Rabbi Yochanan says, I wish people were praying all day. So what's he saying? Is he saying I'm allowed to? Is he saying, hey, Rabbi Lazar is saying that no, you're not allowed to, and I'm saying you're allowed to, but you're not required to. No, of course you're not required to, it's only rabbinic, but go ahead, do it if you want to, if only everyone prays all day long. Or is Rabbi Yochanan making this a requirement? Is Rabbi Yochanan saying, you have to? Why? The best thing to be doing is praying all day long. I wish we were praying for 24 hours a day. So it's not clear. A person is not sure if he said Shema. Rabbi Lazar says, you don't repeat. Does that mean I'm not allowed to repeat? Or does that mean I don't have to repeat? And when Rabbi Yochanan says, if only people are praying all day long, does that mean that I'm allowed to repeat? Or does that mean I have to repeat? And it could be that there's actually no argument here. It could be that Rabbi Yochanan is just backing off of Rabbi Lazar and tacking this on. What Rabbi Lazar is saying is you don't have to, and Rabbi Yochanan is saying, but you can, because if you're praying all day long, there's nothing wrong with that. It could be that that's the flow, and there's really three ways of understanding what exactly this machloket is. Okay, but let's explain it that way for now. That Rabbi Lazar is saying you don't have to, and Rabbi Yochanan is coming and complementing what he's saying by saying, but you're allowed to, because it's the best thing in the world for someone to be praying all day long. That's one way of explaining how this flow goes.
Rabbi.
Yes.
But if you had already said it and you're not sure if you said it and you repeat it, wouldn't that be like a bracha levatala?
Very good. Very good. So that goes to the point of maybe you're not allowed to say it. And to that, we have to see the next opinion of the Gemara, because that's exactly what the third opinion says. Let's do it. Let's do one more opinion of the Gemara in the Zechut of Mr. Levian, because he asked. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, opinion number 3, quoting Shmuel, Haya omed b'tfilah, v'nizkar she'itpalel. A person is praying and he realized, I already prayed. You know when this happens to me? This happens when I pray early mincha. Friday afternoon is an early mincha minyan, so I go and I pray early mincha. Then I get ready for Shabbat. I get dropped off at Kanisa anyway, and then they say Ashrei, and then I start praying mincha. Ooh. I'm in the middle of my Amidah, and it's like, already prayed. Yeah, it's like, didn't I ask God for this recently? Like, 3 hours ago I asked. So then what? So Haya omed b'tfilah v'nizkar she'itpalel. What should you do? Posek. Stop. Ba'afilu ba'emsa bracha. Even if you're in the middle of the bracha, you don't need to finish anything. Just drop, stop. This is what Mr. Levian is saying. Mr. Levian is saying is like, because how could you keep going? You're going to say another bracha. You're saying Hashem's name for no reason. You already said this. Right? So that is the opinion of Shmuel. The opinion of Shmuel is that you are not allowed to say an Amidah if it's extra. So now we have this third perspective where you're not allowed to repeat because maybe you'll be saying Hashem's name for no reason. Then the middle is to say you don't have to, but you are allowed to. And the third would be, maybe this is what Rabbi Yochanan is saying, is that you must repeat. Okay, these are the three possibilities. Now, you know what? The flow of the Gemara is not done, but I want to stop here and we'll pick up from this next time. So it's unclear of what exactly these three opinions are. But now, as Mr. Levian just said, you could really frame it as three opinions. Shmuel is telling us that if you're in the middle of your Amidah and you realize you already prayed, then you have to stop. Why? Because you're not allowed to say brachot for no reason. So if you're not sure if you said it, you're not allowed to repeat. That's the most strict. Shmuel says you're not allowed to. Okay? Then comes Rabbi Lazar, and Rabbi Lazar says you're not required to. If you want to, you can, but you're not required to. And comes Rabbi Yochanan and says, no, you have to. Because it's the best. Kashki, a person is praying all day. What? When you're in the middle of Amidah and then all of a sudden you realize you already prayed? Okay, what's the big deal? You could pray 5 more times. Just keep going. Now, what is the halacha going to be like? We're going to see what the halacha is you cannot add extra. You cannot add extra. If you're sure, like exactly what Rabbi Lazar said. If you're sure that you already said it, you have to stop. You have to stop. But there is a caveat. According to what Rabbi Lazar said, you drop right there. You don't even need to finish the bracha. There is one caveat of when you would be allowed to continue, and we have to explain this next time. The Gemara is going to say is that if a person can add l'itchadesh bo davar, they could add something substantial, something new to his tefillah, then he would be allowed to continue because you're praying for something else. But we need to digest that and to really dissect it. So that's something we have to discuss next time.
Is that like when you have an insertion?
Yes, yeah, potentially. It's a machloket of what exactly it means. But for now, let's just say simply is you need to insert and ask for something else. That's the only caveat. But we need to give it time. We can't rush this through. Yes.
So, just like making Amidah like robotic, like one you would say once, if I want to pray for the same thing, not with multiple times in the day.
Okay, very good. We're talking specifically here about Amidah. You're allowed to pray all day long by talking to God, but to say it in the text of Baruch Atah Hashem, Rofeh Cholei Amo Yisrael, Baruch Atah Hashem, Mevarech Hashanim, saying it in the brachot form, you can't say more than what you're supposed to. But this doesn't mean that you can't talk to God. You can't have your relationship with God. That, of course, you can. The issue here is not the relationship aspect, it's the saying the words, and saying the name of God, saying a bracha levatala. That's where potentially there could be an issue. But we need to go into this more. We didn't finish this, but we'll continue next week. Any other questions? Okay, hopefully next week we'll unpack this concept and we'll really get into what happens if you're praying and you're not sure if you already prayed, or if you're praying and you're saying the wrong things, how this exactly works. We're going to do that next week. Okay.
Right.
Have a great week.
Do we get the answer from the korbanot or no?
Potentially that could be part of it, but not necessarily. All right. See you guys.
Thank you.